Welcome to STEM Careers with Newton's Road. We join with experts from local organizations to help you explore STEM-related careers in our region. My name is Barb Termott, and I'm the Executive Director of Newton's Road, a regional nonprofit supporting STEM learning and career exploration. I also have with me today our AmeriCorps Vista volunteer, Jacob Ennis.
Hello.
Our special guest today, Constanza Hazelwood, is here to talk with us about careers in freshwater studies. Welcome, Constanza.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So as you can see, Constanza is the program coordinator for this program at NMC, and that she says that life-changing events are obstacles and difficulties are opportunities for greatness. So that's beautiful, beautiful mantra for yourself. Thank you. And this session will be recorded and available on our Newton's Road Facebook Live and YouTube channels. If you join us from Facebook Live, please add questions for Constanza or Newton's Road in the comment area, and we will respond to them live or right there in the comment area. Next, I'm going to share a little bit about Newton's Road before we get going. In 2021, we are celebrating over 10 years of working to ensure all youth in our 5-county region have access to STEM-related learning. And through these experiences and career exploration, we empower our young people to thrive in our community and beyond. You're looking at newtonsroad.org, which is our regional hub for all things STEM. And right in the top corner, you see monthly newsletter, which is a great way to sign up and hear about all upcoming events and celebrate recent events. So if we scroll down the page a little bit, you'll see the STEM at Home. And this is where you will find the STEM kits in the libraries. And all 3/4 of our area libraries will have STEM kits in them to check out for free, like a book, by the end of this month. And the rest should all be in place by the end of the summer. Also, we have the STEM Finder, which is a searchable database of STEM-related activities and events and online offerings that you can find the perfect match for you and your family. Our Community Liaison Initiative places local STEM advocate volunteers across our region into the local communities to ensure that we're supporting all students. And lastly, the Career Investigator enables you to learn more about local STEM-related careers and the pathways to achieve them. Today, we're going to be talking about a water-based career, and you can see that would be under the water, land, and air area. So the careers you hear about today, we are working with Constanza as we speak today to add all of these careers. So in the future, you will find a lot of detail around these careers here. So if you have any other questions, put them in the comment area as I mentioned. So let's get back to Constanza to learn about the wide variety of career pathways that are available through the amazing Water Studies program at NMC. Back to you, Constanza.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone who is watching and who has an interest in freshwater. I'm excited to be here and to share my own experience, but also to tell you the story of so many students who have been with us over the past years, growing in their love of water and also in their ability to understand our rich water resources that we have in our area. So not long ago, I was still wondering, what am I going to do with my career, with my life? So let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I ended up here. I'm only about 3,000 miles away from my homeland, which is in South America. And I often pinch myself and wonder, what am I doing here so far from a landlocked city where I grew up and doing work in freshwater? My background is in biology. So ever since I started studying biology, I have been very interested in living things. But the idea of just studying freshwater was a lot more relevant to me once I moved to Traverse City and I put water in my background. So what happens to this picture of a someone who has so many options like you probably do, and you don't know which direction to take, when you add water to your questions, to your passion. So when you add water, and that's what happened to me, I ended becoming the coordinator for the Freshwater Studies program in Traverse City. And I moved here not because I was pursuing a specific career, but because my husband got a job in Traverse City, and every day I wonder, what am I doing here? When I landed this job with NMC, it really became very clear that water is so much part of our lives here, and it runs our economy, and we are so connected to it for entertainment, and it's also good quality that we can appreciate because we have it available, unlike other places around the world. So really the place, in addition to my background, my academic background, made it very obvious that this was for me, that this is truly my passion now, and it's going to continue to be forever, because water is so vital, so important to our lives. So I started the Freshwater Studies program, and I joined the Great Lakes Water Studies Institute in 2004, right when it started. I wonder, do you know where the Great Lakes Water Studies Institute is? Where is it located exactly? On East Grand Traverse Bay, Suttons Bay, maybe West Grand Traverse Bay? I like to ask this question to all the groups that we have for orientation at our program. And sometimes people are not really sure, but let's take a peek. Let's look at our beautiful surrounding area. And just looking at this image, you realize why we have a Freshwater Studies program here in this magnificent location. So we're right on West Grand Traverse Bay, facing the water, and we have facilities both at this Great Lakes campus, but also a lot of our coursework happens on main campus, which is probably more familiar to a lot of you. It's by the Dennis Museum. So that campus hosts a lot of the classes that we offer. But we have a vessel, the Northwestern, that was assigned to our program that we can use as a classroom. So we can get you out in the water, either on the Grand Traverse Bay, or sometimes we go to the Borma River and other water bodies in our area. Yeah, we can go ahead, Jacob. Thank you. You might wonder, is Freshwater Studies for me? And just like I did, when I first got here, I wasn't so sure that this was the career. So what does that mean? What is a career in freshwater? Let's take a peek and see what kinds of areas, what kinds of questions this career might raise, and is it for you? If we look at this image here, this video, I'm wondering if this raises any questions for you, if this is something that you are curious about. Have you seen it? Is this in the ocean? Is this in fresh water? And one of our students actually brought this to our attention a few months ago. She was with her kids in one of the inland lakes, and they saw these fascinating creatures swimming around, and they started asking, what are they? What are they doing here? This is the kind of question that can drive your career. You want to see, you really want to learn about the living creatures that are in your water where you swim. And this is one of the reasons why she came to our program. She wanted to know more about these creatures. If we can go to the next one, Jacob. So if you're thinking of freshwater, you can think about questions that will lead you into research. And when you go into research, there's so many different ways you can look at water, so many different needs. Some people around the world are concerned about access to water, the quality of water, the way it's distributed. And there are many careers to go in that direction. We'll talk about that in a minute. There's also another very important area around water is how do we manage it? What decisions do we need to make about water that are relevant? And there are many careers connected to that that would be water management. And other careers will lead you into communications. A lot of our students go into communication areas because there is a great need, not just to do research in water and to regulate it and to design policy around it, but also you need to reach out to the general public so they can learn about it. And those communication jobs are very, very common for this area of studies. So let's look at each one of these areas and see what's possible, what opportunities are out there. Let's look at water research. So if you were to go into water research, you might be already asking, what do I want to research about water? What are the questions that would be so meaningful that I devote my life to them? Or maybe not your life yet, but a good number of years. And for a lot of us, those questions have to do with water quality. And I think that's one of the drivers for people to study water. Is my water safe? Is my water healthy? Can I swim in it? And those questions usually are answered by research. Let's take a look at the next slide and see some of the activities, the research activities that our students have been involved with. We're looking at the top, the Great Lakes, the Glen Lake Association is really exemplary in our area. I hope you have been to Glen Lake. It's a treasure. It's really one of the most pristine, beautiful lakes in the country. And we're so lucky to be neighbors, and they open the door for our students to research over there. So one of the concerns they have is invasive species. And our students have been there taking care of yellow iris, trying to eradicate it. That's an ongoing project. If you came to our program, you could be involved in that. Some of our students are more interested in lab work and research leading to, like I was saying, what is the quality of our water? And they are measuring different parameters that would indicate whether or not the water is safe, if it's in good shape. And you do that at the lab. So you will be measuring oxygen levels in the water or the amount of cloudiness that it has. And that would lead to other careers. Other people are looking at the living things in the water, which is one of my favorite things to do, is to look through the microscope and find all these little creatures in there and try to understand the food chain. Who depends on what? Is this a good source of food in this lake? Then we have people who are looking nowadays, for example, a very relevant question: do we have COVID in the water? And some of our students are part of a lab program where you use the PCR technique. They're learning how to use that to see if there's COVID in wastewater. So those are all very meaningful, wonderful routes to take. You could be in a lab as a lab researcher, or you could be in the field as a field researcher. Just a few questions there that would inspire you to take on this career path. An aquatic biologist, and we see one on the picture. He is actually the aquatic biologist for Glen Lake. They're doing research also on swimmer's itch. I bet that would relate to a lot of your experiences. And I'm starting to feel itchy right now just thinking about it. Well, they're trying to get rid of the swimmer's itch in Glen Lake and other lakes around the region. So that's what this man is in charge of. His background is in biology with a specialty in freshwater biology. You could be a professor of limnology. Limnology is a fancy term for freshwater studies, for freshwater science, more than studies freshwater science. Hydrology, someone who studies how water moves around land and how streams and rivers are functioning. A natural resources specialist, you could be a lab technician as well. So those would be some professions, some jobs, that some careers that would be under the big umbrella of doing research in freshwater. Now let's take a look at another area that is also a very good career choice, and that would be managing the water. And under that area, we have professionals making decisions like who gets the water first if you are distributing water. Is it the people that are upstream, or do we turn the water in a different direction to irrigate fields that don't get enough water? Or what fish would pass, like the example of fish pass in our region, you might have heard about that. They're trying to monitor what fish are going up and down the Boardman River. And that's a really interesting career when you are in charge of fisheries and in charge of deciding which fish are we going to allow in this lake and which fish are just taking over. So there is a lot of decision making when you are dealing with water, and there are professionals that specialize in that. So let's take a peek at what could you be doing if you were managing water. In this video on the left, you're seeing a team of people who are actually working on looking at macroinvertebrates, insects in the water, in the bottom of the water. And why do you think that's important? Well, you probably guess, those macroinvertebrates in the water are the food source for the fish. If we want to fish, if we want to have good fish, they need to be fed. And that's one of the ways we can assess if the water is in good shape. Does it support life? Does it support fish? So managers in this area would be planning monitoring programs with volunteers, for example, to see if the water has enough food for fish to grow. And that's one of many management activities. Our students really enjoy this one. This is one of their favorites. Let's look at the next one. Our students also are part of teams run by professionals who are looking at the health of the water in terms of invasives. Invasives are a huge problem in our area. So you need managers to try to control or eradicate invasive species, and they include plants around the shoreline, and they include aquatic invasives. So this is one of the practices you're seeing here, how again, Glen Lake has a very robust program where they encourage people to wash their boats thoroughly before they get in the water. And this is a tremendous effort. They need a lot of people helping, but that's another way that managers are ensuring that the water is healthy and it keeps its high quality. Let's take a look at the next one. One of the most important projects in our region, if you're near Traverse City, you probably recognize this picture of the Boardman River. And there is a team of managers that has been working for at least the last 15 years to restore the river to its natural course. And that involves working on the shoreline and taking care of the vegetation, which means that they had thousands of people planting trees to keep the riverbanks from eroding. And managers would be deciding, what kinds of trees are we going to plant? What is the natural vegetation of this area? And if we want to restore it to its original condition, then what do we need to do? Who do we need to hire? How do we organize volunteers to do that? Those are really rewarding careers. Let's take a look at the next slide. So some of those management careers would include fisheries manager, or you could be a natural resources manager. You could be a water treatment plant manager or technician, or a lake association manager. Let me emphasize the water treatment plant manager or technician, because this is a career in high demand, and there is a great need for people to be in charge of the whole process of treating water, whether it is for drinking or water that's waste that has to be cleaned. And there are many jobs in that area. Let's go to the next one. So we went through research, careers in water research, careers in water management, and now we are going into communications. Now, you might wonder, what does freshwater studies have to do with communications? And notice that our program is freshwater studies, and there are also programs in freshwater science. So our program in freshwater studies is more encompassing. It has more areas in it. We are emphasizing the natural sciences, but we also emphasize the humanities and the social sciences. So it's what we call interdisciplinary. It has all these disciplines together. And what I find really exciting to tell you is that a lot of our students come in and they don't see themselves in a communications career doing freshwater studies, but that's what happens a lot of times. And these students are in charge of communicating science to the general public and asking the question, what news is worth telling people, and how do we tell that news in a way that everybody listens and acts on it? So let's look at some of the things that people are doing in that area. I want to thank Victoria Velting, who's one of our students from whom I borrowed these slides. And she is the one who created the video with the jellyfish in the beginning. So there is an example of someone who is very much in tune with the humanities side of things, with the idea that we need to communicate to the public what we're finding out through research. And she's been on Twitter, she's been using social media in many ways to communicate what she's finding and what she thinks is worth studying and worth communicating to the general public. So the next one, please. If you're in that area of more humanities, more social science oriented, you could be an environmental journalist, you could be hired as a nature editor. Your career could be content writing specialist with the specialty being freshwater. You could be an environmental educator or an environmental science teacher or an environmental illustrator. I'm highlighting the work of one of our students, and she is an amazing illustrator. If we could go back, Jacob, thank you. And she came to us with a strong artistic skill that she's using to connect with other people around that same Boardman River restoration initiative. So her skills could serve very well any organization that's interested with connecting with the public, and that's every organization, right? So for anybody with ability, artistic ability, this could be a really good route to channel that artistic ability around freshwater issues. Okay. So what would we like you to do next? I think that one of the first things I would really encourage you to do is to connect with our conversations, our ongoing conversations with water. And we have many ways you can do that. Our college has many student groups, one of which is the Grand Traverse Freshwater Society. And here you have Megan Walters. She is our new president. And I believe she's going to be talking to you later when we have set up some interviews with our students and our alumni. The Freshwater Society is advancing a lot of research in our area and projects that serve our local community. So it's a great way to connect to the students, but also to our local community organizations that focus on the health of our waters. Let's look at the next one. This is a message from our freshwater students who are advancing this social media project where they invite you to listen to water and to make comments about water on a link that I'm going to show next. If with Jacob's help, we're going to go to the next slide, and you'll see a link where you can join the Freshwater Conversation by emailing your voice memo to Victoria Velting at mail.nmc.edu. And what she would like to hear from you is a short sound bite where you can hear water and you can have a conversation with water. So tell us what water is telling you if it had a voice. What would water say to you? So if you go to that link, you will hear some examples. Yes, thank you. So give yourself a minute to listen to water, and you'll be surprised how many different sounds you pick up. And ask yourself, what is water telling you? If you are around our area, you can have conversations with our alumni. And I really hope you get to these places where we have our students as docents, as employees in many different capacities. Some are at Fish Pass, at Sleeping Bear Dunes, Conservation Resource Alliance, the wastewater plant, the Grand Traverse Conservation District, the USGS Lamprey Control, DNR, and For Love of Water, which is what FLOW stands for. Those are some of many ways these students have found a career in our region. Let's get to the next one. And again, join our Freshwater Studies program. Here's our website. When you go to this website, you will also see my contact information, Constanza Hazelwood, and I'd be happy to show you around, to answer any questions.
So I think we have a moment for some questions. One question that came in is, I think your program is a 2-year program. And so are all of these careers available to you after 2 years, or are some of them and others require more studies?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The more you study, the more you would be in the research area that I mentioned. So a limnologist or a hydrologist would need at least 4 years of education. If you're a lab technician, then 2 years would be enough. And if you're in a management position for wastewater, for example, you could do 2 years as well. You would need a different route with very specific certifications and a course of studies that is specialized in that area.
Thank you. And the other question we have is, what about like the water levels of the lake? I know it's another question, but can you speak to how your students might be learning about that?
Yeah, that is really fascinating how we have these trends that are so different over time. Between 1986 and 2020, we've had times when the water levels were very, very low, and then they come back to being high. There are many ways that our students are involved in the consequences of these changing water levels, in understanding the reason for the water levels. I think this is a good opportunity to point out that our students take classes in meteorology, climatology, oceanography. So those would be basic courses in science that help you understand these cycles of high and low water levels. In terms of specific projects where they could be involved, this whole idea of trying to avoid heavy erosion is very important. So when you have high and low water levels like that, you're going to be dealing with a lot of erosion issues. And our students have been involved in restoration of shoreline with natural barriers and natural vegetation. So that's a very rewarding thing to do. They're also very concerned with water quality, and the Freshwater Society, for example, is embarking on a project to monitor the salt in our freshwater, and that has more to do with additional chemicals for, let's say, for roads. And when we have such high amounts of salt poured onto roads, there's got to be a consequence on freshwater. So those are some of the questions that they've been raising and trying to investigate on their own.
Thank you. Did any other questions come in, Jacob?
None that I saw.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Constanza. This was fascinating conversation about the wide variety of careers that you can pursue, and even getting us just thinking about what water means to us and what questions you might have when you start thinking about it. So thanks to all of you who are joining STEM Careers Live with Newton's Road. We also want to note that we could not be here without the support of our sponsors, partners, and supporters that you see here, and others. And also, please stay tuned via our Newton's Road Facebook, Instagram, website, and that newsletter that we pointed out at the beginning is a great way as well, so that you can see our upcoming programs. But like was mentioned during this session, we are planning some alumni of the Freshwater Studies program to do interviews that would be, kind of talking about their pathway and what areas they're studying, and also what resulted in their careers that they are doing now after graduating. So with no further ado, until next time, bye for now.